project with the Ink Kitchen, which is a media company that has free articles online and all kinds of free shop talks like this one. The other sponsors are the Impression Show and Haynes and Hirsch. And I'm with my buddy here, Howard Levine, who is from Alliance Graphics in Berkeley, and it's been a union shop for a long time. And full disclosure, my shop, Mirror Image in Rhode Island, is a UAW shop as well, and always has been. And we're going to talk about unions. We're not going to talk too long, then we're going to open it up for questions. Go ahead, Howard.
Hi, so I don't know if people generally know what a union shop is. Generally, you know, a union shop means that there's a contract between the people who work at the shop and the managers and the owners. The contract generally, discusses wages, benefits, time off, work rules, all those things, and they're established so that everybody knows what to expect, when to expect it. There was a seminar this morning called, how to motivate your hourly employees. And I was thinking, you know how you motivate them? You pay them more, you give them benefits, you show them respect, you give them, some say in their work, and you treat them decently. And I said, well, that's a union contract.
Crazy talk.
So, that's basically what it is. The two things that people say the most to us when we talk about a union, it says, isn't it more expensive? And, don't you lose control of your shop if there's a union in there? The answer to the first question is, yeah, in an industry that doesn't pay a lot of money, paying unions wages and paying benefits and things can be more expensive. But for us, there's two things. One is it means we retain our people longer because they like it to work there. And that, to me, is a really important thing. I know there's shops out there that, they hire people, they lay them off, they bring them back. I don't have any idea how you maintain quality or, sustain, any kind of efficiency doing it that way. We don't do it that way. We invest in our people. We take care of them, and they stay. We train them, they can improve. So, yeah, on one level, it's more expensive. On the other hand, it works better because we have I'll stack my crew up against any crew that's out there in terms of their ability to do their work. The other thing that it's done, and some of them are back there, so. The other thing that it's done is, what they now call values aligning, right? Because we're more expensive, we're not competing on price. We're just never going to be able to compete on price. So we're looking for people who want to, care about, the quality of work that they get and the quality of the people that are doing the work. So we end up working with a lot of other unions, with nonprofit organizations, progressive organizations, schools, political campaigns, people who, are willing to pay a fair price for good work. That's what we do. The second part of it is, are you losing control of your shop? And to me, yeah, you think that if, the people that you work with every day are your enemy, then maybe you think you are. For us, we're partners. We're partners with the union people, and it really works for us. And, for me, managing people is like and Kay will say is one of the worst things you can do in, being a boss. And the fact that we have work rules, everybody knows what to expect. If you're late this many times, this happens to you. If you don't show up, this happens to you. This is when you get your raises. All those things is taken out of our hands. It's made it easier for us, so we like it.
I think the other thing that I hear is that you can't fire anybody, and that's just not true. What you have to do is be fair about it. That's all. So people make certain offenses, then you document it, and eventually you fire them if they don't do what they're supposed to do. I ran a union cut and sew for a while, union print shop now for 25 years. I fired plenty of people. But you know what? If you're not fair, you scare the people that are going to stay. So when someone's fired, everyone knows that it was a fair process. It wasn't just because I woke up with a bug up my ass. It's like they know that it's going to be a process, and they will always be treated fairly. And I think that's a misconception as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, if you want to fire somebody, there's a process to do it. You do the letters, you do the thing. It's all laid down a contract. Nobody's surprised. And like Rick said, you just come in one day and I had a fight with my wife in the morning, and I'm taking it out on somebody else at the job and saying, you didn't do what I wanted. You're out. You can't do that. The other thing it does, is it allows a little bit of evening of the imbalance of power between the management owners and the workers, because they're entitled to have a shop steward there when you're going to have any kind of meeting or disciplinary action. They can bring in the outside union reps, and it just balances the other thing. And the other thing about it is the contract is negotiated. It's not laid down from the top. So people have agreed to this. It's not just, put on them, so they know what they're getting and they've already agreed to it. And it gives them, if they say, look, I'm willing to trade a day off here for, some this, if we can make that work, then we negotiate it and it works out, that part works out good. So those are the kind of things that, that work well, being part of a union.
So let's have any questions?
Was your shop always unionized, and at what point did it unionize?
So the question is, was the shop always unionized, and what point did it get unionized?
We were unionized almost from the beginning. When we started the shop, having a union was really important to us. We, for political reasons. And so we basically invited the union to come in and organize the people. The normal process is, the people organize and bring the union in. But we wanted to do it from the beginning. We wanted to have that kind of a shop. So for us, really, for 30 years, we have been since, within 6 months of starting it, we were unionized.
And for us, it was a year after, and basically the same thing. Other questions? Are any of the other of you from a union shop? Owners, workers? Owner? Workers? Thinking of unionizing? Is your boss here?
Is it a print union?
So we are members of the print union, the Graphic Communication International Union, which about 15 years ago merged with the Teamsters. So our union is now GSIU/Teamsters. But, unions basically in this country have been taking a beating for any number of years, and they've lost a lot of membership. So most unions, if you'll go to them, they'll have some little way of absorbing you into their union.
Ours is UAW. For basically, when we unionized, they were on a kick of organizing daycares and bookstores in smaller places, and so they were willing to accept a smaller union.
Have either of you ever had a strike?
We've never had any kind of problem with our unions people at all.
So my place has never had anything like that. I used to run a place called SweatX, which was a garment factory. I didn't own it. I was running it. It was started by Ben Cohen of Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. It was a worker-owned, supposedly unionized place, and they went on strike the second day I got there. It was an illegal strike by the company. I had a big fight with the union, actually, because it's like, they can't go on strike like that. And they're like, oh, they're not on strike. It's like, if they're not here at work and they're down at the union hall, I would call that a strike. I had a big fight with them, kind of got my way in the end. And they all came back and we worked it out. But yeah, it can be difficult at times. I wasn't there from the start with that, though. So I wasn't trusted for a while till people saw what I was trying to do. And I didn't blame them for being unhappy with what had gone on before I got there. So we worked it out.
Yeah, the other thing that's really important about being in a union when you have a contract is it guarantees the wages and the benefits that you have. It's not going to be like when Amazon buys Whole Foods and then 2 months later they announce, oh, the health care benefits for 17,000 people, we're not doing it anymore. You have a contract, and until that contract is up, your benefits and your wages and all those things in there are guaranteed. So that, I think that's a really important thing to know.
Yeah, and basically, in that contract, they could not go on strike except for certain reasons. So before it would have gone to arbitration, et cetera. I don't remember exactly. But so the contract protects the owner as well. So it's the contract negotiated between you and your employees.
Yeah, I mean, there's somebody from the union itself who meets with employees, and they have meetings and they discuss what they want, and basically them and a rep will sit down with, us and our side, and we'll hash out, here's what we're asking for, here's what we can do, and then we hash out an agreement. Then once we get something that's agreed to, it goes to a vote by the union members. If it's passed, it's a contract. It's specific just to our shop, right?
Right. I mean, the union people would be, experienced with what goes on in other contracts, et cetera, whereas your employees wouldn't be used to making contracts, so that's probably where they're the most valuable. And then your workers would not really know about these work rules, how you write that into a contract about, things that you would get fired for or not, that kind of thing.
Plus, it's just nice to have somebody from outside the shop, so if things ever do get tense, it's not between us and people that work there, it's between us and the third party from the outside, the union people, who are the ones who are, making those demands.
All right, so the question is, are the states we're in at will states?
I'm in California, it's definitely not a right to work state.
Yeah, and I'm in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Not started in Mass, now Rhode Island.
But there's probably only maybe 3 union shops in the whole state of California that I know of that are screen printers.
2 in Rhode Island, I think. That's it. Where are you located? Alaska? Yeah.
It's a niche because there's a lot of union workers up in Alaska. And if you have a union shop, it's a market you could get all by yourself.
Yeah, I think Howard has actually traditionally done more work for unions, and we have not, actually. So I would say that we do more now, but in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, but for 20 plus years, we almost did like very little union work. We're unionized, but not, most of our customers didn't care. It was more of a way to retain workers. We're like one of the best screen printers, like win awards and all that stuff, and you gotta have good workers if you're gonna do good work. Right? Good workers to do good work.
So, let me ask you, what does a starting wage look like in a unionized shop for a press operator?
Well, part of it will depend on, their level of experience coming in. It varies. I mean, for us, we have somebody, probably anywhere for us from, $16 to $19 an hour to start with. After 3 months, they get full medical, dental, and then, the other benefits that come with it. So that's about where it starts.
Is it all hourly based? Is there any type of commission, sales, or production bonuses?
No, I mean we do annual bonuses, but no, all their wages are hourly based for the union members.
I think it's all, I don't know if it's all unions, but anybody that hires or fires people for my shop or has to do with the money is not in the union. So the office people are not in the union. The heads of the department are not in the union. When I had a salesperson, he was. So it's mainly the production workers. Not that you can't have somebody, but in a lot of shops, that's true, I'd say. Usually your bookkeeper isn't your office manager. Customer service, yes or no, depends.
Yeah, we've had back and forth, some that were and some that weren't. But again, the other thing I really want to stress is, the fact that, you go to all these things and people are always asking what kind of customers do you want, and nobody ever says I want the customer who's going to beat me up for the cheapest price, right? You want customers that want to pay you a fair price, and that's when you're a union, you got no choice. You got to go look for those customers, and to me, that's a good thing because basically, I want to make my money from my customers. I don't want to make it by squeezing it out of my employees.
All this China stuff going on in the media affected your sales.
Well, I mean, Yes, I mean, what it's done is raise more awareness about stuff that's made overseas and stuff that's made in USA. We find a lot more people now are interested in buying products that are made in USA and, feature what we call the union bug. Every union has it, a little label, and it's called the bug you can put on your shirt, and so people know that your shirt was made by union people. So it hasn't done that, it's done that in that it's raised awareness for people to know that we can get them products that are USA made, that are USA decorated, all that stuff. It's made not in sweatshops. All those things, that are a little more expensive, but, we call it a value add rather than, a problem.
Has it raised your sales?
Our sales have been good. I think there's people who come to us and say we really appreciate the fact that you're a union shop. I think that, there's no question that we hear that. People who are shopping price, we're not getting that work. The other thing that really that happens is, when you have these with the tariffs and all this stuff, their stock, they have trouble getting inventory. Stuff that's made in the USA, you don't have any problems with Chinese New Year where stuff shuts down for 4 weeks and you can't get anything. Stuff's stuck on a boat and you can't get off the boat. We don't have those problems.
Yeah, I think Howard almost does all union and U.S. goods, right? We don't. We do everything.
We do. We do. We couldn't do everything all union U.S. We try to do it whenever we can, and it's the bulk of our work, but we can't do it with everything. There's just, frankly, there's not enough union manufacturers around here. They're not doing enough styles. They're not doing a widest range of stuff to do everything. So we have to do that, because there's no other way to do it. There's a shop out here, Bayside. As far as I know, they're the only people in here who make a union shirt. There's about, we can probably name them on our hand, the number of people who make union shirts in this country, but the only one that's here, I think, is Bayside.
They're the only real serious one that makes lots of reliable garments.
Bayside.
One more time.
Bayside. They're based in Anaheim.
What? On the East Coast, is it the same feel about China? I have not noticed any uptick for our business of people because of anti-Chinese sentiment. I have plenty of anti-Chinese sentiment from my start. I served 12 years on the board of directors of Students for Free Tibet, so they try to hack into my email and every other thing, so I'm no big China fan anyway. But I haven't noticed any uptick in business. Do a lot of heavily custom garments in China. All the kerfuffle has helped his business because they understand more what's going on. Yeah?
I guess my question would be, with mandatory wages, how do you keep employees both accountable and motivated?
How do we keep employees motivated and
But also accountable.
if they have a union contract?
Well, again, the contract doesn't. There's no fine print. There's work rules that you have to keep track of. And again, if somebody's not pulling their weight, they get written up, they get talked to, they get suspended. There's a process. Being in a union is not a license to sit down and not work. It's just not. That's propaganda. You still have to do your job just as well as anybody else. And frankly, I'll say that our people work just as hard or as harder than anybody else. They're trained well, their training continues, they're paid well, and they know that, other jobs in this industry are not going to give them what they get from us.
Yeah, I would say that's a really big thing that people think, that you can't fire people or motivate them, et cetera. You can. There's a whole bunch of offenses you can just plain fire people. You don't have to even write them up. If they steal and do certain things, there's, there would be some kind of hearing or whatever you call it. What do you call that?
The fact is, people talk about the people, the union protect workers that are doing a good job who may have made a mistake. They don't protect bad workers. You hear the school, always hear about the schools that can't get rid of a bad teacher. They can get rid of bad teachers. They don't want to do the work to get rid of them, so they just push them to another school, to somebody else's problem. It's not that they can't do it, they just don't want to follow the process to do it.
That's exactly right, I would say. It makes us do our job. like the woman Amy that runs my shop and I have to follow procedure, and like when somebody's not, carrying their weight or doing bad things, we have to deal with it.
Yeah. In our contract, we have 30 days from when they start. We can fire them for cause with no problem. So usually after a month, you get a pretty good idea.
Yeah, we
whether
have
somebody's gonna
60
pull-
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, 60 days. Also, I think another misconception is you can't hire temps or something like that. For us, we can hire temps as long as it's not to replace somebody. So, a lot of times, like if we had packaging for a while, we'll hire temps. If we have that packaging going on permanently, we'll hire somebody. But as long as we're not doing it to get out of paying workers, you can hire temps. At least our union, you can. Any other questions?
A lot of the points you made, you said it basically forces you to be accountable and to treat the workers right and that sort of thing, and pay them enough so they don't leave, but to unionize.
All right, so the question is, it makes you be accountable, it makes you pay people so they'll stay,
Those are good things.
but you could do that without a union. That's a good thing for any shop, so why union? Why not just do those good things?
Well, ask the people at Whole Foods who thought they were working for a good company and walked in one day and found out that the company decided to get rid of their health benefits. That's the difference. Is there's a contract that you just can't walk in one day and say, my sales are slow. I'm cutting your health benefits by 50%, or I'm not going to pay them anymore.
I agree, but Amazon's not buying any of our print shops.
But Amazon's not buying any of our print shops, so
But you could still walk in one day and say, I know I was giving you health care and I was paying for it, but I don't want to do it anymore. I don't really want to do it, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And there's nothing you can do about it because you don't have a contract that protects you.
I think that also, yeah, I mean, on a small basis, you sell your company, the contract goes along with it. But I think the other thing that's the positive part is that it's a certification, really, better than any other certification, that your shop treats people well. Especially the making of garments, unions, I think, are the only way to certify that they were made on good conditions. I mean, I ran a cut and sew place. We had like an inspection from VF, I think. We were making something for them. And they had like a stupid rule, like, I don't know, we had to have paper towels. We were using scraps of cloth from cut off. So when they came, we had the paper towels, and then in the afternoon when they left, we had the cloths again. Like, you would have to have someone there 24/7 for inspections to be as good as a union certification. With a union, at least somebody that works there could speak up, and they can't get fired summarily. Whereas in a non-union shop, even that supposedly is doing good things with the workers, you don't know what's really going on, and if someone speaks up, they could get fired. I mean, we do a lot of work for nonprofits that just want to know that their stuff's made under good conditions. And that's really, for people in the know, I think the best certification there could ever be. It is ironic, though. Most people ask about the sewing of the garments, and there's a whole lot of other things. I mean, organic is a labor issue, really, because, I mean, people pick cotton, and if you're not organic, you're poisoning them, basically, with fertilizers and chemicals. Then there's the sewing, and then, I don't know why, but a lot of people don't seem to care as much about the printing, which is as hard work as any other part of this process. Right? Hard work? Printing? Yeah. Right, Lauren? Printing's hard work? Satisfying, yeah. Any other questions? How about a hand for Howard, and we'll stick around if you have other questions.
Thank you.